of introducing you to somebody that truly makes me happy. Some people like to even call her my better half. I like to just call her the other half of me. Both of us, we think very similarly in some ways and very different in others, and we still make it work. And I think you guys are going to see that too. But we wanted to just to talk about those things that either help you or hurt you in business and in life in general. So both of us have a military background. She's an MD, PhD, Harvard trained, worked with Dr. Fauci. She did 6 tours downrange, combat flight surgeon, United States Air Force. She's got all the accolades up to here. And yes, for those of you guys who are wondering, I was only a corporal in the Marine Corps, so she outranks me by several degrees, But we still find a way to make it work. So I'm gonna allow her to say a few words, and then we're gonna get into this because we're gonna be working this together today. Sweetheart,
Yes, dear, I am here. Thank you so much. And I enjoy serving with you, both, helping our veterans and helping people find health. And one of the things that we was kind of going back and forth talking about is like, what are the, let's say, top five strengths and weaknesses that we have in personal development? What makes us want to grow and take things to the next level? And guys, for me, like I love my elders. I don't know about you guys, but elders have such great wisdom and they instill so many things in us. And unfortunately, at a young age, when I was just 5 or 6 years old, I lost majority, 3 out of my 4 grandparents, unfortunately, to chronic health, different conditions. So I didn't grow up with grandparents. So for me, it was so important to try to reach out to the elders. So if people know what I'm talking about, please put some ones in the chat so we know like we're on the same page. Because like for me, having elders is so, so, so important. And because they could lead the way, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel. And one of my neighbors that I love them to death. And he was saying to me, it's just like a lot of times we have strengths and we have weaknesses. But ideally, to be strong, to be truly strong, you have to try not to be weak. And I was like, try not to be weak. That's deep. He's always dropping these pearls. So it's like, so to truly become strong is not to be weak. So what is to be weak and how we can make sure we strengthen our weaknesses so that we could become stronger, so that we could be pillars of the community and help with health. And a lot of times we always talk about bringing health and wealth back into the homes, but with health, our bodies is a temple, right? And we have to make sure that we take care of this body. We don't get one body during this lifetime. And then we take care of our cars, we take care of the homes, we take care of everything else. But realize our most important asset is ourselves. So that's why personal development is so, so important. So this morning, we're gonna get so excited and kind of talk about this. And one of the 5 things that I've noticed that for us is self-awareness. Self-awareness is a true strength because knowing your emotions, knowing your triggers, knowing your values and your goals, that gives you the foundation for growth. That makes you a great decision maker and also have emotional control of what you want to do on this earth. So, Mr. Eric Carter, what are your thoughts on that?
well, you talk about emotional controls and triggers, and obviously I got a few of those, and I have to handle those on a daily basis. For I've got a little bit of PTSD, and some of my triggers is being in crowds. And you know that once you reach the kind of rank that we are right now, we're diamond. We get on stage, we have so many people at so many different events pulling on us and tugging on us and asking us for this and asking us for photos and things. And it does make me a little uncomfortable, but I have to be comfortable in doing it. So those things that we look at as weaknesses, those things are really, they're truly opportunities for growth. It's areas in your life that you can do better at. So it's not about having a weak area and then running from it and saying, hey, I'm not good at that, so I'm not going to do that. Or I'm not good at this, so I'm not going to do this either. Or I don't want to do that, so I'm not going to. It's really about saying, you know what? This is an area that I can improve on. This is an area of my life that I can do better at. And then doing it. I was given an analogy the other day, and I said, when you're strong and you got all those muscles hanging out and you're walking around all buffed, you wearing your t-shirts on too tight, trying to look good. You got there because you worked out, right? You were weak, but you got stronger. You weren't as strong as you are now, but you got stronger. What did you do? You went to the gym. You went to exercise. You went to work out. And when you worked out, it was painful. It was painful. People might have been in the gym laughing at you as you struggle to bench press 135 pounds. They might be laughing at you as you do the machines incorrectly. You may be laughing at other people and they're trying to improve on their weak areas in the gym. And whatever your weak areas are, especially out these five that we're going to be talking about, you're not stuck with being weak. You just got to push through it. You just got to go through the pain. You have to get better at it if you want to get better at it. You don't have to work on your strengths at all. You don't have to work on those things that come easy and come natural to you at all. Like, I don't have to work on being beautiful. It just comes automatic. No, but I do have to get my hair cut and trim my face up and all those other type of things. Strengths and weaknesses, they complement each other. And they show you how you can do better and how you can reach more people. And particularly in this business, we've all got some weaknesses that I think we struggle with. And it comes from, you need to do a self-assessment. Imagine looking at a map, knowing where you want to go, but not knowing where you are. How do you get to where you want to go if you don't know exactly where you are? So when you're trying to go someplace, you're trying to go diamond, you're trying to go triple diamond, you're trying to go emerald, you're trying to go gold, you're trying to do whatever it is you want to do. You have to look at yourself now and say, this is where I am now, and this is where I want to go. How do I get better at this? What do I have to do to get better at that? Who can coach me through these things that I struggle with? It begins with that self-assessment. And speaking of assessments, got an MD PhD right here on the Zoom.
Yes. And you kind of hit on it because the second strength is discipline and consistency. And in the military, we learned a lot about having discipline, doing things that we do not want to do. I know I struggle, guys. I'm an insomniac. I struggle with sleep. So when I joined the military and they told us we had to get up 4 o'clock in the morning and be at PT at 5 and exercise for an hour and a half in the morning, when I'm usually getting my second win, I wasn't motivated to do that. But I was disciplined to do that on every day, a regular basis, because that discipline translates to so many different things. Because when you have discipline, I mean, you're following through with different routines, you're creating habits and committed, even when motivation is extremely low. That is so true because a lot of times we're not motivated to do a lot of things, especially in network marketing, but we do it because we know the results that we will get. And because of those strengths, it leads us to a mastery. We can master our skills. We can get our better health. We can have this better finances and be a lot more productive. And because of that, that's how we can move forward. So you could say we could make those ranks. We could become diamonds and get to all the colors of the rainbow within the diamonds. Isn't that correct?
And you could say that, but I think it's funny. You said you got up at 4 o'clock in the morning to exercise, and you were in the Air Force. So how
Stop,
much?
Marines. Stop it, Marines.
Give you a hard time. Give you a hard time. But you know, another thing you can do, guys, is once you do this self-assessment to know exactly where you are, even as you struggle to get better at those things that you are weak at those things that you're deficient in, at those things you don't want to do, you can do what I did, and you can find somebody to help fill in those gaps. Whether it's a relationship like she and I have, she is absolutely better at communicating with people and connecting with people at a level that I have no ability to do so. But I'm better at doing the things that require the discipline to get it done. Because if I had to walk through a wall of fire, I can do that. That's part of what the Marines tell me to do. I can face my fears. I can struggle through those areas that I'm weak at. I can do those things. But it makes it so much easier when you find an accountability partner, whether that's your upline, that's your downline, that's your sister line, that's whatever it is. If you're weak in that area, find somebody else that's strong in it and kind of partner up and work with each other. Hold yourselves accountable. One of my weakest areas in direct sales is my follow up. I know everybody says it over and over and over and over. The fortune is in the follow up. And if that's true, could you imagine how much more rich I would be if my follow up game was stronger? I mean, I'd be a triple black diamond by now with all the people that I talk to on a regular basis. But when I when I look at my follow up, I got look. If you guys can see my desk right now, I've got
Don't want to. No, we don't want to see his desk right now.
I got like notes all over the place. I ran out of sticky notes and almost out of index cards because my follow up is so horrible. And then when I look at a note, I was like, okay, I got a note with this person's name and number on it, but who is this person? Where did I meet him and what did I talk to him about? Because I'm not organized either. But I don't look at that as being something to stop me from getting to the next level. I look at that as something I have to do to get better at the next level. And we're looking at the this technology now that I'm starting to make myself get comfortable with. So I heard a friend of mine, he's he worked for the Department of the Treasury, the Office of the Comptroller. He used to audit banks for a living. He went to Franklin School. If you guys know what that is, like the guy that developed like the Franklin Planner.
Mhm.
You know, young people, y'all don't know what that is because you've always had technology. But the Franklin Planner, they used to have these malls, and you'd go in there and you'd buy one of their planners, and you'd have these date books, and you start writing out your goals, and you start working towards your goals. And he used to always tell me, he says, "Man, you have to become a slave to your calendar, and then make your calendar your slave." Like I was like, man, that's profound. But I still never mastered that. Right now, using technology, I got my cell phone. And I know you guys do too. I've got three calendars to give me different alerts on my cell phone. So like when I'm doing launch calls with my team, who I'm launching, what who I had to do a presentation for, who I got to meet. I use that calendar because my follow up game is so weak. And Dr. Ramothea, I mean, she's the most organized person I've ever met. Matter of fact, true story, we met in Las Vegas just over breakfast. And we were talking mostly about business. And then, and a cup of coffee. We were talking about business and coffee, right? Because I love my coffee. And she pulled out a notebook and she pulled out a calendar. And every page in her calendar was full, like, and it was broken down into sections and it was color coded. She had like a green section for this and a yellow section and a red section and blue section for that. And I was like, who the heck is this person? And what is she trying to do? I had no idea that anybody could work a calendar that way, but here she was. And I was thinking to myself, man, I could really use somebody like that in my life.
That is true, guys. That is so true. I'm very anal. One of the things we're talking about is perfectionism, right? So I tried my hardest with that because perfectionism actually could be a disability, be a handicap. So I had to actually evolve, right? And then the third thing that we like to talk about in personal development is growth mindset, is growing. So believing that you can learn and improve through effort and learning. So I was trying to teach effort, Eric, that the effort to growing his planner, right? Being better organized, get rid of those sticky notes, have everything written down in one notebook that you can always reference, because that's important. Because once you have that growth mindset and you can grow, that kind of fuels your resiliency. It opens you up to positive feedback, right? Because we all need that positive feedback so we can grow. Because otherwise, if we're not growing, we're stagnant. And if our personal development is stagnant, it reflects in our public life too. So our business becomes stagnant, and it can affect our relationships, our family, and everything. And by doing that, that's how you could get truly long-term success by working on your growth mindset. And the fourth thing we like to talk about is emotional intelligence. Everybody talk about the EQ, 2.0, and understanding and managing your own emotions and emphasizing with others. And we empathize and connect and realize that when we are in a people business, this I don't care if you don't like people, but if you're going to be in network marketing, you have to learn how to work with people. And by doing that, because that improves your relationships, that will improve your leadership skills. And it actually helps with stress management because people can stress you out. They really can. And especially as our businesses grow and our downlines get bigger, how are we going to work with our people? And emotional intelligence is so, so key. Is that correct, Eric?
I don't know because I struggle so badly with that. Like, I mean, I'm okay when everybody's happy, but when somebody is frustrated, I don't know really how to respond because my first reaction is I understand you're frustrated, do it anyway. When everybody else is talking about their motivational, the people that they listen to is like Jim Rohn and they want to listen to John C. Maxwell. I want to listen to David Goggins, who just basically just kicks you in the butt, knocks you over the head, and say, "Do it anyway." This guy was so fat. I don't know if you guys know who David Goggins is. He was so fat and didn't know how to swim, and he walked to the recruiter's office and said, "I want to be a Navy SEAL." And the recruiter looked at him and said, "Dude, you're too fat. You'll never make it. You can't swim. You'll never be able to do it." And then he was driving home. He was frustrated, ready to cry. And I think the story was he rode past a cemetery. And riding past the cemetery, he thought about how many people are in that cemetery with their dreams unfulfilled. Unfulfilled. And he knew that if his dream really was to be a Navy SEAL, he needed to know how to swim. He needed to be physically fit. And he spent the next 90 days or so, I don't remember exactly how many days that was, getting in shape. When he walked back in there to do it, they didn't believe that he could get it done. But he got it done. And when I say he's a Navy SEAL, he's the SEALs version of the Navy SEALs. He was the guy that Navy SEALs got, like, I'm gonna give you guys like some insider stuff with like operators and stuff, okay? So all of us on in real life are not super fit. Like you'll see some Navy SEALs who are overweight. You'll see some SF guys who are overweight. You'll see that. David Goggins used to put them through the ringer though. He'd make them exercise longer than they wanted to, harder than they wanted to, run harder than he wanted to. And you consider the fact of where he started from and where he is today and how much that level of commitment is. Even today, even though he's out of the service, even though he's no longer a Navy SEAL, he wakes up nearly every morning, puts on his SEAL shorts, you know, the BDUs, not the BDUs, but the whatever those shorts they call, and he jumps in a lake that's super duper cold with his hands tied behind his back and swims because he doesn't want to lose it. You know, it's one thing, guys, to have talent, and we all embrace those things. Nobody's going to argue whether or not Michael Jordan had talent or King James, for those of you guys in that younger generation's got talent. But how many people actually made it who didn't have the talent, but they had the discipline to do it anyway? So my heroes, my leaders are the ones who they overcome the hard stuff. I mean, so many things come so easy to some people. Some people are born with a silver spoon in their mouth, so they can do it. Some people are born by being naturally beautiful and talkative, and people just embrace them and want to come up to them, and they're good at it. But then you got people like me, right? I'm not extremely tall, not extremely good looking, not extremely talkative, not extremely emotional, all those kind of things. But I've always been successful at building an organization because I've always done what I had to do anyway. And I believe that I'll get better at it. I never got to be great at it. I just got to get better at where I started from. It's like looking at that map, saying, okay, this is where I am, and this is where I want to go. And you know, along that map, to go from here to there is a pathway you have to follow. And even slow progress is still progress. So today's Friday. I know we've all got work to do. And I know some of you guys are going to be struggling with how are you going to do it. I think the first thing you should do today is start off with your self-assessment. Like, who are you as a person? Look at David Nevis. Look at Brooke. They're both physically fit. And say, if I want to be physically fit, what do I need to do? You say, yeah, I'm overweight. Yeah, I like Mountain Dew. Yeah, I like my Fritos. Yeah, and I like sitting on the couch. But if you want to look like Dave, you want to look like Brooke, you want to look like the leadership that they have inside this company, guess what you have to do? Slow progress. And it's going to get you there. Still going to get you there. What other weaknesses we got to talk about, Doc?
Yes. But number five, in terms of strengths of our personal development, and you went right into that, is goal setting and having a vision. So if we want to look like Brooke and David, or if we want to have a certain vision for our business, that's why it's so important to have a clear sense of purpose and direction. Because when you have that, it helps you guide your actions. It helps you improve your focus. It drives your achievement goals. So once you have that proper mindset and you know exactly what you want, because I know in the beginning of the year, and especially, people have those resolutions. Like, I don't believe in resolutions because they come and go at the end of January, right? January 1st to January 31st. But if you have a vision board and you want to start meditating and practicing and believing and attracting and seeing things and being one with the universe. One of the things I say, I love my elders. And he said a lot of times we're not attracting what we want because life is about frequencies. But life is like it's music. Everything has a rhythm and beat. Our heart, it has a beat, right? That beat, right? Everybody has a rhythm. We all have a song. And a lot of times we are out of tune with our mission. We are out of tune with the universe. So we have to tune ourselves, make sure we're in the right frequencies, making sure we're lining up so that we can have those goals. Even if we're taking baby steps, even when we are slow as a tortoise, we're making steps each and every day forward. Sometimes we may go 3 steps backwards, but once we're going 4 steps forward, we're still 1 step ahead. So we're supposed to keep on grinding, and so that way we can achieve those goals. But I know for me, for myself, I want to truly work on my weaknesses because if we work on my weaknesses, that way I can still get stronger and stronger, so I could be that warrior, right? But one of the things for me, and oh my God, and then there's things I have been working on for 2025 is procrastination. And a lot of times people have lack of focus. Like I have the focus, man, I am organized to the T. But sometimes I procrastinate. And why do we procrastinate sometimes? And dig deep. And a lot of time for me, it was based upon trauma. It was based on my PTSD. And certain things I just don't like to do. And because of different setbacks, I have certain, I think in my mind, certain walls that I put up for certain scenarios that causes me to procrastinate. It's just that those barriers that sometimes we cannot get over. And a lot of times when we procrastinate, we are delaying important tasks. Or sometimes we are spreading ourselves way too thin. I'm a workaholic. And sometimes I work to 2, 3, sometimes 4 o'clock in the morning. My brain at times will not know how to shut it down. And because in my mind, I say I have to get done things done now because I say tomorrow's a new day. Tomorrow has enough problems of its own. I have to complete everything today. I'm spreading myself way, way, way too thin. Even with my color coordinated calendar, I put too many things in my calendar. It's like I am my own worst enemy. I create these deadlines that is not necessary. But in my mind, I feel like it's a dark cloud over me. And if I don't get rid of this cloud over my head, and if I feel like my whole world is just gonna crumble. And I feel like I'm just gonna go to this major depression and I'm just gonna collapse and the world's gonna end and I don't get anything done. And it's sad that our mind plays tricks on us. That's why we have to enslave our brain and don't let our brain enslave us. So if we could work through our procrastinations and realize and dig deeper, where is that even coming from in the first place? And realize it may have been a stuck point in your life, and may have been a certain trauma, and may have been something that triggered you. That's why it's all about self-awareness, the first thing we talked about. So if you could see truly what is causing you to procrastinate, what's causing you to delay, what causing you to work, what are you running away from? Why are you working all types of hours? Why you put all your focus in one thing and not put in things where you need to prioritize in life? So you're not falling behind in your bills. You're not falling apart in your relationships. That is so important. And that's why when we do that self-awareness and we realize what are our triggers, we try to work on those as well. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that I think you've got good company. I don't know if you guys know it, but the procrastination is the largest nation in the world because everybody finds an excuse to be there. I honestly tell you, some people want to procrastinate on working out. Some people want to procrastinate on eating right. Some people want to procrastinate on self development. Some people want to procrastinate and even picking up the phone to call people. Procrastination really is the largest nation in the world. And everybody has their own trigger, their own excuse, and the things that they themselves decide they can put off. And the more they put it off, the more difficult it becomes to attack that problem. And procrastination develops in so many different ways. You tend to let things pile up, and then it becomes an excuse for not having things done. Whereas it's really about focus. Like, you wake up in the morning, you look at your calendar, you look at your planner, and say, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this until this time, and then I'm going to do this until this time. I'm going to do this until this time. A lot of veterans, because I know we got a lot inside this company, we struggle with procrastination because of PTSD. She and I both work with veterans, helping them get 100% disability. That's what we do. And we run across people who only got to do a few simple tasks for us to help them. And they still procrastinate, knowing it could be the difference between them making nothing and earning nothing and then suffering in silence because of what they're dealing with, and able to get about $4,000 a month as 100% disability. Um, but procrastination is inherent in that disability, in that PTSD disability. And I liked what Timothy Ronan said. He said disabled doesn't mean not able, which is what he told to the children and adults who work with disability they work with. It doesn't mean that you're not able. It means that you're just pushing it off. It means that you're pushing it off. You know what you should be doing. You're just not doing it. I remember as a kid, I was raised by my grandparents. I was fortunate. I know Dr. Webster said that she wasn't. I was raised by my grandparents. And they used to always get at me to do my homework. I wasn't dumb, right? Because I would get straight A's on tests. I would just never do my homework. I hated freaking homework. And I never really developed the habit of sitting down at the table after school and doing the homework first and then turning on the cartoons. I always turned on the cartoons and then started watching regular TV and then went outside and played with my friends. And then I was like, where did the day go? The reason why I didn't do my homework, Mr. Teacher, was because I didn't have enough time. And they would always say, well, everybody else in the class had time, and you got just as many hours as they got. What is it that you're doing? I didn't understand that I was prioritizing things that didn't need a priority. In this business, guys, if you're prioritizing the money making activity versus what you think is activity, you'll find yourself doing better. You'll find yourself doing better. So if you're on Facebook and all you're doing is clicking likes to do likes, and you're trying to get followers and those types of things, and you're not doing the money making activity, like when you make a post and somebody comment on it, how come you're not inside their DM, right? Saying, hey, I saw you saw my post. What was it about it that, that resonated with you? If you make a post and somebody clicks like on it, that's your opportunity to go inside their DM and say, what resonated with you? And then you follow up with them. You ask them about their family, their occupation, their recreation, their motivation. We call that the form method, and start communicating with people. And then you can often use what they tell you, and then use Vital Health as a solution for them and what they're dealing with. But there's a time frame in which you need to do those things. We talk about striking while the iron is hot. You guys have heard that before. Well, guess what you can't do? You can't strike while the iron's hot if it's 3 or 4 days later and the iron's no longer hot.
Mm.
Right? We get in the way of ourselves of being successful. We really, really do. These triggers that she was describing, these weaknesses, it's going to require you to sit down with somebody else, probably not even you. Like, you may be able to start it out, but you need to sit down really with your mentor who brought you into this business, or sit down with a coworker at work, or sit down with your significant other, your spouse, and say, these are the weaknesses I came up with. What other areas in my life do you think, and what other aspects of my life do you think I need to improve on? Right? And then you got to have rhino skin, because when she tell you, and she gonna tell you, you got to be able to just suck it up and be like, you know what? I may not like what you said, but I'm at least going to consider it. Even in this business, guys, when you're a power couple, when you're a team, when you're building a company together, there's things that I do naturally in my business that she doesn't do naturally in the way she approaches this business. And sometimes her way of doing business may be better, but it like approaches like my comfort zone. And some things that I want to do better approaches in her comfort zone, and then that causes a little point of contention. But I'll tell you, it's an opportunity for growth. It's an opportunity for that self-assessment and say, are they right? Can I do better at this? What can I do better? And you got to be honest. Honesty begins it, guys. You can't find out where you are if you're not really looking for where you are. And you just want to sit on a chair somewhere and moan, groan, gripe, and complain. It's too late for those types of things. We talk about motivation, we talk about discipline. Motivation is good, discipline to get you through, but you still have to know what you're weak at. You probably very well know what you're strong at. You probably know very, very well what you're strong at. I know one of my business partners, billionaire duffel bag cowboy, I remember talking to him while he was going through his self development phase, and he's still going through it as we all are. But he always struggled with some of the small things. But when he heard Jim Rohn say that what he lacks in skill, he can make up for in numbers, he attacked that 100%. And I would watch him give out thousands of business cards at a time, just person after person after person after person after person. Well, that would be a weak area for me because I'm going to try to talk to two or three people every single day, minimum two or three brand new people, by the way, for those of you guys who are keeping notes, two or three brand new people every day. And I'm going to try to talk to 7 or 8 to 10 people on a daily basis about building my business. Because at the end of the day, I know that if I'm successful in this business, there's a potential 6 figures a month waiting on the table for me to take it. But you know how I'm not going to be able to get it? I'm not going to be able to get it if I'm procrastinating. I'm not going to be able to get it if I'm feeling sorry for myself. I'm not going to be able to get it if I'm prioritizing other things. I'm not going to be able to get it if I'm not pursuing money making activity, picking up the phone, calling somebody brand new, checking on them to see if they enrolled properly, and then training them once they got in, launching them, doing a game plan interview with them. If I'm not doing those things, I'll never get to where I need to be.
Mhm.
If the things I just mentioned to you sound foreign to you, that's a weak area for you. And that's something you
Mhm.
can develop, you can grow from.
It's true. It's so true. Because I know for me, I had to develop in that. And the reason why it was so hard for me, because one of the things, and it's another negative attribute, things that I know I had to personally work on just because of my own traumas in my past, is that negative self-talk and that low self-esteem. Because it doesn't matter how many accolades you have, but sometimes we still have that inner voice that tells you you're not adequate, that you're not enough. And you have that, they said, that harsh inner critic. And sometimes we may even have that imposter syndrome because we fear that we're not enough. And that's why our esteem is so low because a lot of times we're comparing ourselves to people who we shouldn't be comparing ourselves or we could create these marks that are unattainable and then put it so high that it brings us into a depressive state. And then instead of us speaking value, speaking love and life into our bodies, and it's like trying to beat the drum of the universe that is calling us, the path we should follow, we're staying out of tune and we're constantly beating ourselves up. And because and unfortunately, and as a doctor, we see that naturally as humans, we draw towards negativity. That's why you see things on the news, it's horror and death and things are happening all throughout the world because that's what sells. People want to hear negativity. People don't want to hear, about kumbaya and let's hug and love each other and world peace. That's not a major discussion. People in vital health, we love those type of things. But people we talk to a lot of times don't want to hear that. And sometimes we are our own victims because sometimes we had the same negative thoughts about ourselves. And we have to work through those things because those weaknesses of self-hatred, negative talk, being having that imposter syndrome that blocks our confidence, that blocks our growth, that blocks our authentic expression of ourselves. And it also kind of ties in to fear of failure and perfectionism. I got to discuss with you guys before. Because for me, I, all throughout my life, honestly, because I had to be that straight A student because I wanted to go to medical school. I wanted to become a medical scientist. I wanted to be like Albert Einstein. I wanted to maybe take the research I did at the bench and bring it to the bedside. I wanted to work with people and do international talks and travel the world as a civilian and in the military. I had high dreams, and thank God I was able to achieve them. But for me, I always had that fear of failure. So in times I will remember being breaking down in the middle of exams because I would have a mental block and I couldn't move forward, and I will cry because like if I didn't get this answer right, I wouldn't get a 100. Ultimately, does that matter? Do we have to be perfect at everything? Do we have to get everything 100% right? No, we just have to do it. Most things in life happens with people who are C and B students, not the A students, right? That's just a small myopic view. It's very small a population, but it's just getting things done. And sometimes when we try to be perfect, that's a disability. It prevents us from getting things done because like we wait to be perfect. If we do this one more thing, maybe tweak it one more time. But in that time of tweaking, in that time of doing things over and over again to make it perfect, we lost time. We talk about striking the iron. When the iron is hot, it's not hot anymore. It's cold. Sometimes it's ice cold because we waited so long, days, weeks, months to make the perfect system for us to build that business. To make everything right before we launched. We're missing so many opportunities. We're missing opportunities to talk to people and share this powerful mission that we have. So we shouldn't wait till things are perfect. Just get started and iron things out as you go along. And because we're always going to be dug bugging stuff, even in things in vital health, it's a beautiful system. But remember, we're in the ground floor. Things are still being in development, and we have to be patient through that process. So when you're doing your self development, you have to be patient with yourself as well, and realize you don't have to complete everything at once. You don't have to be ultimately perfect. You don't have to speak negative to yourself because you think in your mind you're not keeping those deadlines. It's just so important just to get started and find somebody who's your accountability partner to help you through that process and realize you're not alone. We're not by ourselves. We're a team, we're a tribe, we're a family. We're all here together to help each other out.
It's also truism for those of you guys that don't know. I'm not a perfectionist. I mean, for me, a C was perfectly okay. Like, who are these people to be judging me anyway? That was my attitude in school. A D, I passed. Send me on to the next day. I'm good. I got through the day, so we're gonna be good. That was always me in school, but I've never been the kind of person to think that I could fail. I never ever thought that I could fail at anything. And that was a strength of mine, but it was also a weakness. Because for many, many years, guys, even though I believed that I could do anything, and I still believe I could do anything, my biggest problem was that I thought that I could do everything. And I can't do everything. Even though I could do anything, I can't do everything. You have to do the things that are profitable for you and those things that are aligned with what your goals are. If you're too diversified, you can't do anything well. You become a jack of all trades and a master of none. They say that for a freaking reason, right? Because no man can chase two rabbits. And when you're sitting up here, for some of you guys who are on this business and on this Zoom right now, when you're trying to chase two rabbits, because you're like, I could do this, I could do that, I could do this, and I could do that, and then 18 months later, you're still sitting at gold and you're looking at emerald and you haven't hit diamond. And then you're saying, I could do this and I could do this and I could do that and I could do this and I could do that. You're telling yourself mentally, I can do everything. But there's still only 24 hours in a day. And there's only a certain amount of life that you're going to have. One thing that I always talk about when I get on stage sometimes with people, and you guys will see me do this presentation sometime in full. A yardstick, a yardstick is 36 inches long. And if each inch on a yardstick equaled 2 inches of your life, that would be your life measured in 72 years. And when I look at a yardstick today, at 58, I'm like way over here on the yardstick. And I've got all this time behind me and only this much time left in front of me. And because I only have so much time left in front of me, I have to focus on those things that really, truly matter. My relationship with the young lady that you've just been introduced to today, my profession that I'm doing here inside of Vital Health. In addition to that, the stuff that I do for the VA, because that's part of my passion. Ladies and gentlemen, today I want you to go home, to go to lunch, sit down with your significant other, sit down with an accountability partner, and then do an assessment of what your strengths are. Do an assessment of what your weaknesses are, and talk to your mentor and find out what he recommends or she recommends you do to improve, and then measure your steps wisely so that you know that you're getting closer to your goals on a daily basis. For me, guys, let me tell you, it's been a plum pleasing pleasure as well as a privilege to be your presenter today. And I'll pass this on to the beautiful, intelligent Dr. Ramothea Webster for her to close us out so that you guys can get on with the rest of your day. Thank you so much, everybody.
Yes, thank you, love. It's been a pleasure co-hosting with you to discuss weaknesses and strengths, but then how we can overcome that and realize, guys, that we're here together and realize that no matter what we're going through in life, and and sometimes I know personally, because I struggled with a lot of mental health, and I still do, right? And I've been through a lot of different therapies because, as a 100% disabled veteran, I know it was 6 tours downrange. I always said, one of the things the government gave me is a gift that keeps on giving. And these gifts sometimes aren't the most positive gifts, but I still am honored that I served my country. But I know I have to wake up every single morning and tell myself that I am enough, and I will conquer this day. And I have my positive affirmations I say every morning. I make sure I have my meditations every morning. I make sure I have my prayer in the morning. I make sure I have time to reset before I even start seeing my patients, before I see clients, anything. We have to make that time because saying like we are our temple, we are our home, we are a very sacrificial, important temple and a vessel that we have to cherish because we only have one of them. So at any time, if you guys are down and you have that negative self-talk, or you feel like you're not being consistent, or you feel like I'm stuck, reach out to people who love you right here, our Vital Health family. Reach out to any one of us because we are truly here because we want everybody to succeed. We want to see everybody grow. We want to make sure that we all not getting to the top or over the top. And that's why we join these AM power calls, guys. That's why we had this for be accountability parties to each other to stay motivated, right? So, and today's Friday, even though it was Friday the 13th, but we made it positive, right? We're not gonna have that self-talk, that nasty, stinky thinking, right? We're gonna make sure we're gonna conquer this weekend. We're gonna do our follow-ups while the iron is still hot and make this weekend phenomenal. So, guys, thank you so much for sharing this opportunity with us. Thank you so much for being on the AM Power Call. And we are looking forward to seeing you next time. So much love and kisses and blessings, everyone. Take care.
Thank you, everybody. See you at the top.